Three, two, one, gun. Three, two, one.
3, 2, 1, go.
Three,
3, 2, 1, go. We missed. Welcome back to the Talking Average Fitness Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sam Burns, and I'm joined as always by my wonderfully complacent in terms of just rolling with basically anything that gets suggested for a topic here at Talking Average Fitness, Mr. Kevin McCarthy. Kevin, how are you today, sir?
Doing great, Sam. I'm enjoying being complacent because I have an amazing talent to be able to form strong opinions very quickly about whatever topic that comes up.
Not necessarily well informed, but certainly strong.
I will concede that I may be the least informed person, but if I've learned anything, it's that if you can say things confidently, you can convince people of almost anything to the point where they'll question their own beliefs because you're so confident. So the king of fake it till you make it here. It's how I've gotten this far in life. I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. So
psychology is a beautiful and terrible thing.
It really is. There was just funny example of this in class. We had classes coming in, and the workout was like deadlifts and toast bar. Right. And so everyone's coming in and like they see work on the board and they start grabbing out barbells. And a few people are grabbing barbells. I look at them like, what makes you think you need a barbell? And they're like, well, we're deadlifting. And I was like, yeah, but does that mean barbell?
Right.
And they were like, and they just kind of stood there and looked at me and like looked at each other, looked back at me, and like I'm like full poke face and like
Stone
not wavering.
face.
I'm like, just like fuck makes you think you need a barbell? And so they start going to put barbells back. And I was like, guys, like the load on the board says deadlifts at 275. Make 275 out of dumbbells.
Yeah.
Like it was, but like you're so confident. They started questioning like, do I need a barbell?
See, you had a missed opportunity there.
Like
as they started to walk back, you should have been like, wait, guys, what makes you think you don't need a barbell? And just like,
what makes you think you don't need a barbell?
Like contradict yourself 5 seconds later.
Like, wait a fucking second.
Right. Well, so we're evil in terms of how we treat classes and whatnot.
It's the little things. I need my amusement. You know, have you ever done the drill when you're warming people up for like, it could be a toast bar, anything like where you like hollow an arch on the floor and you have them like do the roll across like without their arms.
Alligator rolls.
Yeah. Is that what they're called?
Yeah, they're called alligator rolls.
Okay. I just say, hey, do
take
a hollow.
Take a gymnastics course. We'll teach you all this stuff.
No, because so I'm going to take that. I would walk in the gymnastics course and I would tell whoever that I'm not going to wrap my thumbs and they would kick me out. I would like the last 5 seconds, but it's like they're doing that where they're like, okay, into a hollow, and they roll into an arch to a hollow. And I call them through. I'm like, all right, guys, into an arch. They roll into a hollow, arch, hollow. And you speed it up, arch, hollow, arch, hollow, arch, hollow. And so you see them like rolling around on the floor. And I'm like, all right, that was great, guys. Awesome. They're like, what was that for? I was like, just make me laugh. I was like,
yeah,
just for me to, you guys look ridiculous.
Yeah. So I every time there's things like toe to bar, I'll go to the athletes in the class. I'm like, all right, everybody stand up really nice and tall, right? I want you to put your feet together. I want you to squeeze your glutes. And I want you to take your hands and I want you to do this. All right. And they all like, oh, okay. And I'm like, okay, look around at each other. And they look around at each other. And then, okay, hands down. And they're like, okay. And I'm like, okay, first of all, that was just for me. I just wanted to see you all do that. Second of all, I've confirmed that, in fact, your hands do close in this shape. And so you have zero reason not to wrap your thumb around a bar.
As soon as you were like, I confirmed here, I was like, no, he's going to say something about his fucking thumbs. No.
And you walked right into it, too.
Oh, I did, too, because I did the, oh, man. One of my favorite ones is like, just in the spirit of being ridiculous. I'm like, all right, guys, like we're going through all our warm-up stuff, prep, all that fun stuff. I'm like, all right, guys, last little bit of the warm-up. We're going to do this last little stretch activation piece all together. This is the most important one. Everybody's going to stand up nice and tall, arms up and overhead. And so everyone goes arms up and overhead. I'm like, all right, guys, next part, we're going to go head, shoulders, knees and toes. And then, and then 3, 2, 1, go. Off we go.
Yeah. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
Yeah, head, shoulders, knees, and toes, knees and toes. Last little bit of prep. Needed.
Absolutely necessary. All right, so So I swear to God, people, we have ideas, and we like have plans, and we're like, we're going to talk about X. So
Yep.
it's CrossFit Games week, right? So my plan is to release this
Mm.
like today. We'll get a double episode out today. So it's CrossFit Games week.
Oh, baby. Give the
Yeah.
people what they want. Or maybe
Hopefully,
what they don't want.
or maybe what they
They
don't.
just got to listen to us twice.
Son of a bitch! Why is there more than one of these? I don't
One
want to
of
hear
these
these
days,
assholes.
one of these days, we're gonna do an episode where we're not gonna stop our rambling and like be like, "Hey guys, we do have a topic."
Yeah.
We're just gonna keep rambling
It's
for the whole
just the
hour.
whole
Like,
thing is
just
a
let it
ramble.
wherever it goes, it goes. Yeah, just let it wherever it goes, it goes.
Well, I have a feeling like half of each episode is like that anyway. So,
A little bit like the first couple minutes.
for sure. As we look at the clock, 6 minutes deep.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
CrossFit Games week, right? There's a whole bunch to talk about. I think probably the best place to open is with the inverted medley. So
Phenomenal.
I love it on so many levels, but inside of this little story, there's like a hidden little sinister piece, and it's kind of a sad story.
Yep.
We're going to talk about that as well.
Let's talk about the workout first and get into that, because I do have a comment on here that like can loop back to something we've said prior.
Yeah. So I'll make a point here at the front end. So CrossFit hyped up the fact that we were going to have like this Venn diagram of the three modalities. We're going to have a monostructural test, a weightlifting test, and a gymnastics test. As far as I know, it has not been announced that the inverted medley is the gymnastics test.
No, that wasn't announced. There's going to be something else.
Exactly. So
there's going to be, but I think it's going to be like more. I don't know how to say this, like more pure gymnastics and not like gymnastics capacity, because this event is like, it's got a 7-minute cap.
7-minute cap.
And it's like handstand walk, pirouette, right? I have that in the right order.
Well,
handstand walk, pirouette.
I believe it's
like
handstand walk over an obstacle.
Okay, so through an obstacle, yeah.
And then there are 4 spots on the floor, and
for the handstand push-ups.
It's a freestanding handstand push-up, right? And so it's a rep, move forward, a rep, move forward, a rep, move forward, a rep, and then there's a line, and you can kick down and rest. And then there's 4 more, right? And then there's a stairs obstacle to a box, a 20-inch soft box, where you have to essentially perform a round off, right? So you finish in a handstand, you turn and come down on the opposite side, feet facing the opposite direction you came from. Right. So that's the 180 at the end. Then you go to a bar, you do 16 pullovers, which is just like so great. And for those of you who don't know what a pullover is from a dead hang, right?
Yep.
Pull up, feet come over the front of the bar and down the back, right? So to finish the movement, you would stop at a support position at the top, and then you come back down to full extension. The competition standard, I believe, is you cannot jump up and pull. You have to start in a dead hang, then up and over, return to lockout, up and over, return to lockout, up and over, return to lockout. And I believe you do have to pass through some form of a press at the top. So they're not letting you just finish with straight arms all the way around. So like,
I mean, to be fair, I don't think anyone in the CrossFit space has like upper body strength nearly strong enough to like full straight arm pull themselves into a support at the top of that thing.
Right. I mean, a handful of ex-national level gymnasts, maybe.
And
what's funny about this is when they kind of hinted at this, the guy on the demo team that they had do it is a former French national level gymnast. And so, so they have him complete the whole thing. And like the tagline at the end is like, do you think anybody is going to finish as fast as this guy did? And the guy who was, I think it was Todd Whittinger from CFHQ, was like, no fucking way. There's no chance anybody goes as fast as this guy does. So they finish the 16 pullovers. They then have to return to the box, right? They have to, without letting feet or knees touch the box, press to a handstand, right? 360 pirouette. Handstand walk down the stairs, and then handstand push up, handstand push up, handstand push up, handstand push up. 4 more. Back up over the obstacle, finish.
So this might be where like me, so I saw the event and I either read it and my brain chucked it out the window,
Yeah.
or I didn't quite grasp that like the pirouettes were on top of a box.
Yeah.
Because that's 0% safe in my mind, and that comes into what we're going to talk about, which
Yes.
like so that's 0% safe. You're like, hey, you're on an elevated surface with people that, and let like, to be fair, and this is not to like good, bad, and different, we can argue until the cows come home.
Yeah.
As soon as you're like, okay, you're gonna do a pirouette on top of a box.
Yep.
Okay, like people are good enough at handstands to probably do that. Now you're telling them to race. So things like mechanics, things like making sure we're properly balanced, or my hands are like, because they're just like, I gotta win. Those 100 points are like cuts are happening, homie, on the end of Friday, like, so now you're telling people who aren't like, not they're not good, but most CrossFit Games athletes, most might not be the most proficient gymnasts.
Yeah.
But they're strong, so they can get away with stuff and they can do stuff.
They can literally muscle through it.
Literally muscle through it. And so you take someone who's not as proficient in gymnastics. Yeah. So their positions, their timing, their balance already isn't
accuracy.
Yep, all that fun stuff already isn't as stellar as maybe it could be.
Yeah.
And you're telling them to go fast and that this is for points.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think the accident that happened in practice for that team, I don't think that's the last accident we're going to see at this CrossFit Games with this event. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong, because I don't want anybody to get hurt doing any of this stuff. But with the way the course is set up, with a fucking tight timeline, I mean, to be clear, it would take me 7 minutes to do the 16 pullovers. But with the tight timeline that you have, and after doing a whole bunch of pirouettes and then a whole bunch of pullovers, your orientation, you can't see straight. Yeah. You've been spinning in circles like crazy. So put all that together, tell people to go fast. It's for points. People are going to, Matt Chance is best. Go fast, take chances. Yeah. Like, I don't think, and we can talk a little bit more. I'll let you dive into what the accident was. But my one comment about the pullover was, we talked about this in an earlier podcast, that if you're a competitor in CrossFit, you should pay attention. Even if you're not doing all the workouts, you should pay attention to CrossFit.com, because they will tell you all their secrets. Yeah. They've programmed pullovers on CrossFit.com. This is the first year they've done it. I've never seen a pullover on .com prior to this year. And I remember in the winter, I believe it was February, just before the Open, that there was a workout program with pullovers, and we did it here as a class workout at Tilt. It was like pullovers and calories or something simple. But we had a blasty blast with it. It was an amazing workout, but we're like, pullovers, this is new, this is unique. And I sat there, I remember sitting with Colin, I was like, I'd be willing to bet that we're going to see pullovers at the games. Yeah. Just because of that workout. And it rings true. CrossFit will tell you its secrets. Pay attention to .com. You'll see the stuff that, comes into there. The event that's happening right now, stupid event, we'll get there, is the 40-minute AMRAP of the mountain bike. And so earlier on .com, they had programmed like I can't remember if it was a distance or a time, but it was like for like a mountain, like a trail bike or a mountain bike or something. It wasn't a Concept 2 bike. They put that as like an option. Like, if you don't have a actual locomotive bike, then you can do this distance on a Concept 2. But they had programmed as the workout for the day on CrossFit.com as like some sort of like road bike, locomotive bike, the whole thing. And then here we are at the games with a bike event. I'm like, listen, they're telling you all, they're writing it out for you. Yeah. You know what you need to practice if you follow .com. And again, you don't need to do all the workouts, because they're, competitor companies that program really well for the sport. But if you and or your coach is not paying attention to .com, and you're a competitor in the sport trying to make something happen, you're an idiot. Yeah. Like, it's right there for you. Yeah. So talk to me about the bad stuff with this gymnastics event.
So side note, the pullover has been programmed many, many times. So we saw it in 2019, 2014, 2022, 2023, 2020. It does appear. It's just for being classified as a basic gymnastics movement, it's not programmed in an affiliate. And this is where hot take, like coaches are really bad at gymnastics. And it's not that they're inherently bad. The ecosystem has not caught up with providing coaches with excellent resources for getting better at gymnastics, right? So early on in the CrossFit ecosystem, we had Mike Bergner appear. And Mike Bergner provided a shortcut to thousands of CrossFit coaches understanding what is the best way to do this, right? And my guess is that for a long time, national level gymnasts kind of looked down on CrossFit. And they're like, I don't want to be fucking associated with that. Like, I got real shit to do over here, right?
Yeah.
And so what ended up happening is imagine if you do a snatch, right? And your background's in the pole and you bend your arms early and you don't actually get into a squat position. You just kind of like arch your back as the bar gets overhead. And instead of getting lower under the bar, you finish and you press out, right? Like when in doubt, press it out.
Starfish my feet.
Exactly.
Starfish powers activate.
So did you complete the movement? The answer is yes.
Yes. Per the movement standards, yes.
Absolutely. So imagine if for 15 years, nobody came along and showed you a better way. You would look at that and you would say, well, that's how you do a snatch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Early on, we had someone be like, that's fucking dumb for these many reasons. This is what you need to do instead. Gymnastics is getting to that same point where people are starting to realize that we have the handstand push-up. First of all, the handstand push-up is not a handstand push-up. It's a headstand push-up, right?
Yep.
So a handstand push-up, imagine you're on parallettes or parallel bars. Mm-hmm. The bar should come all the way down to your shoulder and press all the way back up, which is not deficit. It's just full range of motion. You wouldn't call an overhead
same
press.
As a strict press. Yeah.
Absolutely. You wouldn't call a strict press that went to your shoulder and back up a deficit strict press.
A deficit strict.
So like, what the fuck? And this is an example of like and a lot of this comes from competition standards, right? And it comes from competition standards because, and this is my personal opinion. This is not representative of anybody who I'm associated with or anything like that. It is easier to get a coach to understand weightlifting because it is easier to practice the things that you need to know so that you can teach them to other people. i.e., I can teach you how to snatch with a PVC pipe. And so you can then hold a PVC pipe and teach other people how to snatch, and it looks okay, right? However, with gymnastics, there's no shortcut for the coach. And so many coaches, because gymnastics is rude, they don't do the thing. It's like at that point, it doesn't matter if you're a coach or not. Being like a human being, you don't like to do the thing that's hard. You want the thing that's quick and easy, which is why if you look at the theoretical hierarchy of development, it's like, keto or zone diet, burpees, fuck gymnastics. I'm going to film every snatch I ever did. Like that's the progression for almost every CrossFitter until you realize that, it turns out gymnastics is important and we're all 10 years deep and you actually learn how to keep an arch in a hollow and you feel like you've been lied to for the last 10 years about how to do your kips. And you haven't been. It's just the people who taught you didn't know any better. So anyway, so back to this event.
Pretty sure Sam just said that weightlifting is stupid and gymnastics is better.
Not at all. I love weightlifting. I really love but this is important. Like I could be seen as being BS.
Yes.
Like to that person who has that, what we would call a train wreck snatch. Like, and everybody has had a train wreck snatch. You
Myself,
watch that,
yep.
everybody knows. Did you do it? Yes. Could it be better? Also, yes.
Yep.
Why the fuck any coach would watch a human being flail about under a bar and then aggressively toss their hips toward the bar and pull their face at it and like just to get their chin over the bar? Did they do it? Yes. Why you wouldn't then also say, could that be better? And like stop that human and like regress them and get them stronger. Why you don't do that is a colossal disservice to your athletes.
Yeah.
So that's my hot take.
Yeah. It's
all right.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that.
All right. So we had a horrible accident.
Yep.
After athlete check-in, prior to the beginning of the games,
Yes.
Josh Mattis out of Missouri, he's on a team. It's CrossFit Believe. He dropped into a gym with his team, and after they had the brief, or after they heard about or saw the details of what the event was, they decided to set up, a couple pieces of equipment to practice this, right? So not having access to in this affiliate, like proper firm foam boxes for, gymnastics obstacle courses, they set up a wooden box on the 20-inch side for the 360 pirouette. So I'm going to read 2 posts. I am not going to show the images. It's an uncomfortable image. But I'll read the 2 posts, right? So
I don't think I've seen this.
Yeah. So this is a day ago.
Right? I know what happened, but I haven't seen any pictures of anything. So
yeah, he posted the images to his Instagram. So if you want to do that, you can look him up and go see it.
What was his name again?
Josh Mattis, Mattes. It's jmattis32 is his Instagram. And I, like, full disclosure, if you're like, I wonder what that looks like, it's a graphic image. So, be trigger warning, right? So he says, I was involved in a freak accident today shortly after checking with my teammates. We dropped into a gym, and while attempting a handstand walk ramp apparatus that was unpadded, my hand slipped and I fell directly onto my face and essentially broke my face off. I was rushed by ambulance into emergency plastic surgery and will be hospitalized for multiple days. So, and then what follows on that post is him basically, talking about his teammates and how he feels sad that, his teammates can't compete and stuff like that. And there's an updated post that happens 18 hours ago. It says, my nose is broken in 5 different places, but it appears I will not need another surgery at the moment. Other than the obvious stitches, I also have stitches on the inside of my mouth, above my front teeth, and I lost a tooth. They will give me the next couple of days to let my swelling go down to see if I need another operation. The thought is hopefully my nose will function properly and function normally once the fractures heal and the swelling goes down. So he thanks everybody for, reaching out and stuff like that. This is, to your point of, like, this may not be the last accident we see. This is one of the things that happens when, he says it. It's like an unpadded, it's an improper apparatus. They basically created this thing. And
like when James broke his foot when he built the sketchy ramp.
Absolutely. There you go. And like,
same thing,
and James is like, and I'm not saying, I don't know Josh, I've never heard of him before this moment. There's a lot of CrossFitters I don't know who are amazing. And, hopefully we'll win the CrossFit Games one day. But like, James is a guy I know personally. And so, like, James is a smart cat, and yet accidents still happen. And like, this is what happens at competition. That's an awful, awful truth. This is why having appropriate equipment to practice things is going to be necessary forever, especially safety equipment. And hopefully the increased need for virtuous gymnastics practice will actually help to lower the cost of some of these apparatus. Because if you go to like a Vi and you look up like handstand ramps or like parallel bars, like a set of parallel bars will run you several $1,000s.
It's insane.
It is insane. It's a big ass piece of apparatus, and you can get away with getting like a set and like doing certain things with it, but if you want to practice some of these more difficult movements, you need to be inverted. And so like you need spotters, you need padding. Like I take my kid
Yeah.
to little kid gymnastics at the Maine Academy of Gymnastics, and they've got all this stuff. The whole floor. I mean, this space is 150 by 100. The whole floor is soft spring rug, like spring mat, like for an open floor section, or pads.
Yep.
The whole thing.
Yep.
And you need that.
Yeah. I mean, you see athletes, they post on Instagram practicing my, handstand obstacle, and instead of like parallel bars, they've set up like 3 to 4 pairs of rogue parallettes.
Yeah.
And they're
which
like,
is the
well,
best they have.
It's the best they got. And they've got plates on like the inside and outside to try and like prevent the things from kicking.
Yeah.
When you stand on it. And as they're walking across, it's like you have to I mean, maybe it makes your accuracy better because like you have to place your hands properly, otherwise you're gonna hit a gap and you're like you're going.
Yeah.
So it's like it's sketchy stuff like that. I know that when the handstand ramp was originally put into regionals, and it was just the one company that had the padded ramp.
Yep.
It was so expensive. It's still so expensive. But I know that for you can find the dimensions for that, and I know Sam Hornstein built one out of wood for somebody. They were needed it for a competition or needed it for a training something, and instead of paying $6,000 for this foam, I don't know if that's actually the price, but $6,000 for this foam ramp, they just paid Sam for $100 worth of wood, and then the 2 hours it would take him to cut the pieces and put it together. And so he basically built the same dimensions just out of wood, and the whole thing. So
the company I call Avi because it looks like AVAI. It's American Athletic Incorporated, so it's AAI. And I just Googled, so you can here. I'll share this screen because it's worth present.
Worth the seeing it.
It is. It's worth the seeing it.
Timothy. Present.
Where do I here? No, this one. Okay, so share. All right, so I'm over here. So this is AAI. I'm in gymnastics, apparatus, parallel bars, right? Our parallel bars are made with a fiberglass graphite composite rail. It feels like wood, but has the strength of fiberglass composites. Blah, 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 blah. I'm going to close all these. So they've got all these 100 series, classic parallel bars, elite parallel bars. And so what's interesting to note about this is if you look here, I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit. Nope, it's zooming back out. I hate you. So you can see these kind of, it's like...
it's adjustable.
Adjustable, yeah. So it adjusts in height, and then you can swivel them in and out to adjust width, right?
Oh.
But this is a non-collapsible piece. So what you end up with is a fixed apparatus that is 2 meters long on your floor that can't go anywhere. Now you could also do padded something or others like this to practice a bunch of this stuff. You can have even low sets of parallel bars. But if I go to the low parallel bars, I'm going to click this, they don't even list the price. That's how you know it's fucking expensive. They ask you to request a quote. Yeah.
Request a quote. Wow.
And it's one of those things where
let's go down the rabbit hole. Request a quote, Sam.
Okay, so
then you're just going to be on an email list forever.
Yeah. If I'm going to request a quote, what I'm going to do is, let me see this.
Do the big ones.
Great use for progressive training. Master parallel bars made out of material that is interesting.
See, this is going to be sound mean, but this just looks like the shitty fold up crash mats you had in your high school gym that it's sat in the corner gathering dust. That's what that looks like.
Ooh, parallel bar blocks.
Yeah, but where's the bar part? What do you grab onto?
It's the yellow thing.
Yeah, it's not a bar though. It just looks like it's part of the pad.
It is part of the pad.
You put your hands on it.
Right. So the sold as a pair, they're 150 pounds per block. Fuck.
Holy shit.
Request a quote.
Holy shit.
Cool. It's been added to your cart. All right. Well,
they're just prepping you. They're like, all right, we're making some sales today, boys.
Right. Anyway, so it's expensive, and you're going to have to invest in pieces like this. Hopefully, like you don't have to go to AAI. Rogue is going to start making some stuff. Some other companies are like Again Faster might start making some stuff, and hopefully that brings down the cost of these things. So yeah, that's a thing that hopefully gets there. So like, I think the event itself is really, really interesting. I think that it's going to be very cool to see what happens with it. Now, this isn't the only topic we want to talk about. You have some very strong opinions about AMRAP versus 4-time.
Oh my gosh. So, all right, I'm going to say this. This isn't a hot take. This is a perfectly lukewarm take. This should be.
This shouldn't be a hot take.
It shouldn't be controversial in any way once I explain myself. So, in my mind, AMRAPs as competition events are stupid. I don't think an AMRAP should be an event in competition. Now, here's why.
Okay.
Event is an AMRAP.
Yep.
To beat Sam in the AMRAP, I have to do more work than Sam.
Okay.
So with that comes a couple things. Number one, I'm being punished for being the fittest by having to do more work than everybody else. Whereas in a 4-time
workout?
No, in an AMRAP.
Okay.
If I'm doing an AMRAP, if we're doing Cindy and I beat you, I've done more work than you have. So that can have lasting effects on what it takes for me to recover later that day, or in between events, and then potentially my output for the next events and the rest of the weekend. So I'm getting punished for winning that event by having to do more work. Secondly, there can be and you can potentially game a 4-time event like this as well. But if you know how to pay attention with who's around you, you can be like, well, I can just, take third or fourth and get 90 points out of the 100. And then I'm less fucked up for the things coming down the line. Whereas if we're doing something for time, instead of Cindy being a 20-minute AMRAP of 5, 10, 15, it's like your workout is 20 rounds for time, 5, 10, 15. Everybody's doing 20 rounds. So the fittest people are just going to finish faster, but it's not going to punish them for being fitter by making them requiring them to do more work to win the event. So I think AMRAPs specifically as competition events are stupid. I think an AMRAP as a training piece, fine. AMRAP as a benchmark or a workout, fine. AMRAPs as a competition event, not fine.
Okay.
Thoughts?
So effectively, right? So I want to come at this from a physics standpoint because I don't give a shit about your opinion. So I want to see if your statement holds up to academic rigor, right?
Okay.
So at CrossFit, we define fitness as work capacity across broad time and modal domains. We break that out into an equation, right? Which is force times distance over time, which is force, load, distance, how far, time, how long did it take? Let's take a simple example, a 1-mile run, right? The force is your body weight. The distance is 1 mile. The time is the time required to complete it, right? So the power output equation for you is body weight times 1 mile divided by minutes and seconds. And so what you get is, and you could do it in yards or meters or feet, right? 5,280, 5,280 feet in a mile. You get a foot-pounds per minute rating, which is horsepower, right?
Yeah.
So Kevin's assertion is that if instead of a 1-mile run for time, it was in 12 minutes, complete a maximum distance.
Yep.
Right? Then you're doing more work. Technically, he is correct, right? Because the work portion of that equation is the top half of the equation, force times distance. So the work output of the winner will be greater because the time is constant. However, relative to everyone else or another event, it might be a same or similar power output, right? So your contention is that AMRAPs, or rather things that depend on work output and punish the athlete for work output, should not exist in competition.
Yes.
By that same reasoning, we should not see weightlifting tests, because a weightlifting test is exactly force. It's work output. So we shouldn't see a max snatch. We shouldn't see a max clean and jerk, max deadlift, any of that shit. Because does that punish the person who did the most work? Absolutely. Is it less of a punishment or more of a punishment because it's not 40 minutes long? Maybe. But it depends on how much we're lifting, right? So I think what you're upset about is the fact that it's a 40-minute test rather than a 10-minute test.
No, it's not the time. It's just because it just popped up because this. So I think that the
hang on to that.
Okay,
so for reference, what we're talking about is we're talking about the first event. It's the bike ride, where previously it was X number of laps on a bike for time. Now it is AMRAP of laps in 40 minutes. So that's the context that we're talking about here. Go ahead.
Right. So I just think that's lazy, to be honest. So like to take the bike event and like you have the course mapped out, you can make the course whatever you want. There's a little section in there where people have to get off their bikes and run through, like, run carrying their bike through the section and then hop back on that thing and off they go. And it's like, okay, like do that, but make it 3 laps for time, make it 5 laps, like make it a race as opposed to just 40 minutes of go around this thing. Like, I just think putting a 40-minute clock on that is lazy and does the event a disservice for like what it could have been as an event. And I also think, not that like you should always take spectator like experience into account, because because at some point, like, you need a test of fitness, and I don't give a fuck if it like makes you want to hop out of your seat screaming.
So marathon row.
Yep. Great test. I loved having that at the games. Not the most fun to watch.
Sure.
I don't care. It's a good test. But yeah, like it's boring to watch. It's just I think it's a dumb event. I don't like the 40-minute AMRAP on the bike. I think it would have been better served as like a X amount of laps for time. I don't know. But yeah, I get what you're saying with like the lifting events being like in the same category of like it requiring a certain amount of like more work from the winner. However, I think like it'd be really, I mean, I'm going to say this and maybe you have a rebuttal and I'm just going to make myself look like an idiot, but that's fine.
Maybe.
What else is new? Is like, because now we're talking about like, okay, we're doing like a 1 rep max snatch.
Okay.
Versus an AMRAP sometime of like, some stuff where like at the what was it, the 2019 games where they had Mary as one of the events. 20-minute AMRAP, 5 handstand push-ups, 10 pistols, 15 pull-ups. Yeah. Like, fuck you and your biceps.
Yeah.
It's like, but with that, then they have the weightlifting event. It's like, I would argue that the weightlifting event is far less taxing over the course of the entire weekend in competition than like the 20-minute AMRAP. And I would say the same thing. I would say the same thing about like was the sled push event. Like there's been multiple sled push events where it's like just push this bitch down the football field as fast as you fucking can, rest 1 minute, and then do it again. There was the one in 2018 where everyone lost their shit about there was a wet lane versus the dry lane, which there's some it's like, you push the thing down, you do 15 bar muscle ups, push it back like as fast as humanly possible. That event, as painful as it can be, because like if you've ever pushed a sled as a sprint, you could have pushed that thing 30 feet. It could be an empty sled for 30 feet. Your butt is going to feel like it's going to fall off. Okay. So you do it, it hurts.
Yep.
That right there, just from an energy system perspective, is less taxing than something that's glycolytic. that something that's like in that kind of like 12 to 20-minute time frame is going to be way more destructive than like the sprint with a sled
Of
or
course it is.
a 1 rep max snatch.
Of fucking course
Right,
it
that's my
is.
fucking point. So
No.
doing the 1 rep max snatch is fine. Like, cool, you're stronger, got it. But like the AMRAP is like, you'd fuck yourself up if you win and you're like, I just did 3 more rounds of Mary. That's almost 50 more pull-ups than Sam did.
Right.
Like if I beat Sam by 3 rounds and Mary, like I'm 50 reps more fucked up in my biceps. And then when Dave Castro goes, have a fucking pegboard, I'm gonna be like, fuck me sideways because I did 300 pull-ups in Mary. That's my beef.
No, is my response.
You're just like, no, fuck off.
So
all right, fair enough.
So
agree
here's
to
my preset. Agree to disagree.
Agree.
We'll do this one.
You're gonna pull up some screen. You're gonna like have.
I'm gonna pull up
the
schedule for the games. Is what I'm pulling up.
Here's how stupid Kevin is.
Well, it's not. It's not. Here's how stupid. So, what we have, right? So
yes,
we have.
Which is this?
The ride.
Games?
This is today, right? So we have
Yep.
complete as many laps as possible in 40 minutes on a trek bike. Later today, we'll have the pig chipper, 10 pig
Love
flips,
this fucking workout.
25 chest to bars, 50 toe to bars. So grip.
Grip with the pig grip.
Yeah. 100 wall balls and then back down. So this pig chipper is not a chipper; it's a pyramid. That's a lie.
How heavy is the pig? Did they say?
I think the standard is 600 for the guys.
I was gonna say 600 pounds probably.
Yeah,
it's a big fridge that Hendel was just tossing down that bitch. Where's Spencer?
He could. Where's goddamn Spencer Hendel when we need him? So we have, and then it's into the inverted medley. So like, what I want you to do is, so first of all, let's look at the schedule, right?
Could you? I want you to imagine for a second. Okay, so you this is just my brain real quick. Is you do that pig chipper where you've been hanging on to a pull-up bar for 150 reps of chest to bar pull-ups, toes to bar, all that fun shit, and flipping a pig, and then you take that whatever happened to your forearms, and you're like, do 16 pullovers.
Right.
No. How about no?
How about maybe
how about
fuck
no?
Yourself.
How about, maybe not. Maybe fuck yourself.
Exactly. So here's how I look at that, right?
Okay.
You might not like this event. I think that this is a devastating combination of events in a day.
Yes.
Right? So if you think so, there's a reason that when we teach a gymnastics course, we say you should train gymnastics first, right? So if you think about your 10 general physical skills, right, which I'm not going to recite, but the back half of them, CABA, coordination, accuracy, balance, and agility, those are neurological adaptations, right? Once you reach a certain point of physiological fatigue, you cannot bring your neurology to bear in a meaningful way when it comes to learning new skills, right? Mm-hmm. So if I was going, as an example, if you wanted to practice double unders, an easy mistake to avoid would be don't practice your double unders in the 5 minutes at the end of class, practice them in the 5 minutes before class, right? Use it as your warm up. You can actually, if coordination is your issue and accuracy is your issue with the double under, well, after you've smashed your fucking face into a wall, don't then try to go be accurate and coordinated, right? So do that first, right? So what this does is this inverts that whole fucking thing. You have a 40-minute test that, will absolutely punish the person who wins, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And that's an endurance test. It's not a capacity test. That's an endurance test.
Yep.
Coming out of that, you abso-fucking-lutely have a capacity test. So here's your 18-minute time cap, right? Yeah.
Get fucked.
I mean, 20 pig flips is a whole thing by itself. But imagine doing 50 chest to bar pull-ups, 100 toe to bar, and then 100 wall balls. And then a couple hours later, I want you to go do a whole bunch of gymnastics shit that you are
Do the
not
most complex shit that you've ever. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm just thinking, so again, this is where my programmer brain goes. After that 40-minute bike ride and like how your legs are going to feel after that, strap in for 100 wall balls in the middle of that workout. Oh, and guess what? Like your arms are going to be useless holding that wall ball after the 150 reps of gymnastic stuff. God damn.
I'm looking at the total bar. So like so there's a significant amount of midline fatigue in all of these, right? You know, pigs from a stability standpoint, chest to bar pull up from a lot of people who are doing like high volume chest to bars, like 25 chest to bar pull ups for athletes at this level is not a big deal. The issue is the rapid opening and closing of the hip that is required, coupled with then essentially pure hip flexion and midline compression.
Well, so the thing is, like with those toes to bar, like I think people are going to vastly, maybe the athletes, maybe not, but like people watching, like, oh, it's just a 40-minute bike ride. How many fucking high knees did you just do on that bike over the course of 40 minutes? Like your hip flexors having to reset your leg to press. Like that's all your hip flexors, homie. That's it. Like even if your feet, because if they did when they did the what was it, the cyclocross, where it was like they were on a road bike and they were like clipped in.
Yeah.
It's like when you're clipped in, you can actually use your hip flexors to pull the pedals to like get more out of the bike. So there's that. I don't think they're clipped in here because they have to hop off and run with it.
They're not clipped. It's just pedals.
But still, as you're pedaling, like you're still having to, like, once you pedal, the other foot coming up, you have to like, you're pulling with your hip flexor to pull that knee back into place. So your hip flexors, you're doing a 40-minute AMRAP of high knees. And leg extensions on that thing. So you come into this workout with some fucked hip flexors and quads and shoulders, maybe because you're absorbing the shock of the whatever you're going over on the bike. It's not I was looking at it earlier, it's not a smooth course. They're going over lumps and hills and dirt and shit. And so it's like you're absorbing all that impact with your shoulders. And so and it's a mountain bike, so it's not like,
I mean, it's got a front suspension, but but that's it.
But still, like you're feeling all that over the course of 40 minutes. And so then you take that, like your shoulders are tired, your hip flexors and quads are fucked. Oh, guess what? We're going to flip a pig, do 100 wall balls, and then 150 reps of gymnastics capacity stuff that like is easy movements for them. So they're just going to go fast. Oh, and then now that your entire system is toast, let's do the most complex thing you've ever done in your entire life.
Right. The effect, the systemic effect of these three events is just devastating. And I think especially the midline fatigue. So the reason I was talking about that, you do, 25 chest to bars, 50 toe to bars, 100 wall balls, 50 toe to bars. And then I'm going to make you do 16 pullovers. Like if you didn't practice pullovers regularly for fun, like your ability to pull and then aggressively turn your hips over the bar and come back down, like, because it's from a dead hang, like it's almost like a strict pull-up toe to bar combo.
They have to roll back over the bar, don't they, to come down? So it's like you go legs over the bar and you turn over to come up, and they can just come back down.
I believe
I'm pretty sure
once they reach support, they can just drop down to dead hang and then come back up. So you could just do it like this.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because otherwise you would be a roll forward and then come roll back and then roll forward and roll back.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, the event's at like 11 o'clock.
I don't know if that's better or worse. I don't know if that's better or worse. Anyways, that was just a thought in my head, because I'm like, I know that when I was talking with Colin, he was like, to do a proper pullover is like you pull up and over and then back, like you roll back down over the bar. And I was like, ooh, that could add, you're basically doing like 32 spins now.
Right. Forward roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways.
Yeah. I think so.
What's the next day? All right. So you were okay. So to my point, Sam agrees. The winner is going to like, it gets fucked more than everybody else. So I win.
Sure. So no. Again, I revert back to my previous response, which, if you remember, was no. Right.
Yeah.
So your contention is it's going to punish the person who, fuck you. I don't give a shit. Like, it's
Wow.
the CrossFit Games.
I didn't say you had to give a shit. I'm just saying it punishes the person that wins most, which is why I don't like AMRAPs as the event. I didn't say you had to
But
give a shit.
but that's like saying the person who wins the weightlifting is going to end up winning, like lifting the most weight, and I don't like that. Like, of course they are. And if this was one event, then I'd care, but it's not. It's anyway. So no. Day 2.
All right. Day 2.
Day 2, we have alpaca redo, redux. I still don't know how to pronounce that word. Redu. All for time. 126
Yeah.
foot. 126 feet. Okay. First of all, 126 F to M. FT to M. It's 38.4 meters. How about yards? Oh, no, I want feet. 42 yards. Okay. So it's exactly 42 yards. So 42 yards.
550-pound sled push.
I know.
Jesus.
Fucking A. So we end up with, so you push a 42-yard, 500-pound sled, then 3 rounds, 2 legless rope climbs, 12 kettlebell clean and jerk, and then a 42 sled push, starting with only 2 of those kettlebells. So you do, oh shit. So
you add 2 kettlebells each. So basically the kettlebells that you're using for the clean and jerks are the ones that are using for the sled push.
Yeah. So
it's the same sled.
Yes. So what it sounds like is then it's fully loaded, right?
Yeah.
Then you've got to unload it.
Yeah.
And then you do a round, and then your sled push.
Load it again. Yeah.
Do your round.
What you do is like,
oh my God, they have to run back and get them.
So no, so I was thinking this in my head, because I'm like, when I was reading this event, I was like in my head trying to create a floor layout. So I think what happens is you have all the kettlebells on the sled, and you sled push down to like the rig area in which you do the, whatever.
Sure.
That math doesn't math. What, 42 feet?
40, so remember, it's 42 yards. So there's 42 feet, 42 feet,
okay,
42
so hold
feet.
on. I'm with you. Okay, gotcha. So, so you all the kettlebells on one end.
Yeah.
You sled push all the way down to wherever the like rig setup is with the ropes. You take all the kettlebells off the sled.
That's what it seems like.
You do your round legless kettlebell clean and jerk, and you take the kettlebells that you just clean and jerked, put them on the sled, and you push it one section down.
Then you have to leave it,
station,
run,
right? Leave it, come back, do your legless clean and jerk with the next pair, and then you're probably going to farmer's carry that pair.
Exactly,
to the sled,
that's what I mean.
The next section. So you push it the next section.
There's a secret farmer's carry in this.
Yeah, but didn't it finish with a sled pull, or was I high?
No, you're high.
Okay. So then my guess is then your finish is, because there's going to be 3 sections on the field for the sleds, and you run all the way back.
Yep.
Legless, kettlebell clean and jerk, farmers carry your last pair on there, and then it's you push to the finish, the last section, the fully 550-pound sled.
Yeah.
So it's like full sled push down. Each round you move the sled one section and add a pair of kettlebells.
Yeah.
The thing I want people to make clear here, we've had chest to bar pull-ups yesterday, as well as toes to bar, as well as pullovers, and then now we're doing legless. And then now we're doing legless. Now I'm just thinking pulling volume on upper body, like grip and pull.
Yeah.
So like now you're doing legless rope climbs and kettlebell clean jerks the next day. So that's a lot of pulling and grip intensive in 3 events out of the 4. Sorry.
And then, and this one's just awful.
I haven't seen this one.
So 30 cal ski. 30 sandbag squats, 200 pounds, 20 cal ski, 20 sandbag squats, 6-minute cap.
Why is that 200, 125? No, that's not okay with me. No, 200, 150. Get some.
200, 150. I think 125 is light for the ladies.
Like, let's be honest here. Female athletes are way stronger than male athletes.
Yeah.
Like that 70% marker is no longer valid. I had a conversation with people in class today. I was like, RX of this shouldn't be a thing. they're like, what do you mean? I was like, when like 115.75 is no, it
Yeah.
should be 115.85. Like, you ladies are fucking
Yeah.
savages. So let's get
Well,
some.
so the general
I don't know.
rule that
Anyways, that's
so I hot take on this one. I have seen conversions where it's like, if it's say cows on a bike, right? So it's 15 and 10 cows, right?
Yep.
So 15 cows for the guys, 10 cows for ladies. That's a 66% or like 70%. They keep the same 70% rule for calories and distance as they
calories. Yep.
do like load, which
Yep.
to which I say bullocks, 80%. So it should be 15 and
Or
12.
maybe not even 80%. Here's the fucking thing is, if it's 30 calories, it's 30 calories. It just takes your female athletes a little bit longer.
Well, there is that. And you could do it that way, right? So Cap had a workout recently. It was 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, cow row. And then at the end of each round, 15 wall balls.
Wall balls.
Yeah.
Oh, disgusting.
My legs are still fucked up from that workout. So
gross.
I, being the clever coach that I am, I scaled appropriately and got a score that was spot on for the stimulus. But what we ended up with is, like, as the options that were presented, there was no female adjustment for the calories. And so it was kind of like, okay, well, you're going to have to move your body weight, at a given damper setting, depending on whether or not your coach understands the relevancy or not of damper setting on calories on a rower. You might end up just not only doing more work or working longer, but also, like, how do I want to say this? Like, it just takes you longer unnecessarily. And so, like, every once in a while, yeah, like, do that. But also, it is personally my opinion, like, if I was running that class, I would have suggested scaling options for the cows as well.
We
anyway,
our class workout today at Tilt was for time 100 calories, 75 burpees, 50 toes to bar. People were like, "What are the ladies' calories?" I was like, 100 calories. 100 calories. Yeah, pretty much. That's fine.
Yeah.
This workout's disgusting.
It is disgusting.
100 wall balls yesterday. Some sandbag squats today. If we were evaluating affiliate programming, I would be fired. Like, if I was programming this for my affiliate, I would be fired.
People would hate you. There would be a small revolt.
What the fuck? Yeah, we've done a bunch of pulling, a bunch of squatting. What the fuck?
Oh, and then
hit me with
Saturday is our monostructural.
So at this point, Saturday morning, we're at the final 20 athletes. Yes, we've done
that is my understanding. I believe there's a cut at the end of each day.
So then everyone's argument that, we've only done running to cut people is invalid because we haven't done it until right now.
Yeah, so absolutely invalid.
There's that. So
there is that.
5K trail run.
Yep.
Fucking love
5K trail run. And then for load, it's both. That's right. Yes. You have 2 attempts for each lift, max 20 seconds per lift, 1 rep max snatch, 1 rep max clean and jerk.
The two attempts, why not do 3? Like, if you're gonna just do a weightlifting, why not do why 2? Why not do 1? Hey,
I don't know,
warm
Mr.
up your snatch, and then whatever you got, let it listen. I'm saying do 3 because that's the weightlifting thing. Is you get 3 attempts to snatch, 3 attempts to clean and jerk. The 20-second thing, that I'm not fussed about that, because as CrossFitters, we're way more conditioned than any weightlifter ever has or will be. So you can manage that, and that's fine. But it's why 2? It's just a weird number. I'm like, one of 2 things. You either do 3 attempts, or give a window. You have 10 minutes to establish a max snatch. That could be interesting.
Right.
Or 1 attempt on the snatch, 1 attempt on the clean and jerk. Like, you warm it up in the back, you come out and you let it rip, and you see what happens.
1 attempt.
Right? That could be something right there, because you warm it up in the back. All right, heat 2, we're going.
Yeah.
You step out on the thing, you put the weight on the bar, and you're like, all right, let's see what we got. Like, sink or swim, baby.
Well, you've also got to remember the volume of athletes and the way they've got it set up logistically speaking. It's not like a meet where there is a single podium.
You're going one at a time.
It's 20 cats on a floor, and it's coordinated. You go here, you go here, you go here, that kind of thing. And then, of course, finally on Sunday, we don't know. We just don't know.
I like that.
So
Are those the only 2 events so far on Saturday? Is
that's
the
all
run
that
and
has been
snatch?
announced.
Okay, so these are just the announced events. So we might see another event on Friday. You might see another event on Saturday because it's
Yeah.
usually 12 to 14 events, right?
12 to
Like
14,
12 to
12 to 15.
14
So
is
3,
like the total.
5, 7. And then, yeah. So like this is, I mean, from a
So we
volume
could see
standpoint,
another 5 events. Like there should be another 5 events.
that's a hot
And
take.
one of those events may or may not be like a part 1, part 2 type deal where it's like
Yep.
it's like one event, but it's 2
Yeah.
scores, if that makes sense, or it's like a 2-parter, like part 1 leads into part 2 or something
Right.
like that. So because like it's usually average volume at the games is, I don't think they've ever done more than 15 events, but I don't
Yeah.
think they've ever done less than 12. So it's usually 12 to 15 events over the 4 days or so.
Mm-hmm.
Today's volume seems right, 3 events, but if you do 3 events each day, that's your 12 events.
Yep.
And we've got 2 days that have 2 and then 1 that has none.
Yep.
So, you know,
Yeah. I think
I'd
we're
be
also
very
short a
interested
day.
to
Typically we
see.
see a 5-day games rather than 4 days, don't we? We see something on
No, they
Wednesday.
put a rest day in the middle there, so they would like do the stuff Wednesday,
Oh,
rest
that's
on Thursday,
right. Yeah,
Friday,
yeah, yeah,
Saturday, Sunday,
yeah.
because then
Okay.
Thursday would be the big day for like the age group and adaptive and whatnot. So like,
Right.
but it also, because usually day 1, you remember the 2018 games where Dave just said "fuck you" on day 1
Yeah.
to all the individuals. He
Yes.
was like, "All right, guys, here's
Yes.
what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a cyclocross. We're
Yeah.
gonna do a 30 muscle ups for time.
Yep.
We're gonna do, what was the weightlifting bit? There was one that was like a barbell something. I can't remember what it was. And then it was the marathon row. It was like those 4 events on day 1.
Wasn't it CrossFit Total?
It was CrossFit Total. You're right. That's because it
Yep.
was all like benchmark stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it was so they did cyclocross. They 30 muscle up for time.
Yeah.
They CrossFit totaled.
Yep.
And then they did a marathon row.
Yep.
And it's like those 4 events was literally Dave Castro going "fuck you" to all the athletes. That
Yeah.
was the most aggressive day 1 I think I've ever seen, but the most aggressive just sequence of events I've ever seen at the games. But the 2018 games were like very balanced. You know, as we're looking at Boz's program right now, and I think to get a really good picture of what Boz is doing and what he's about and the whole thing, you're going to need to see like multiple full seasons from him. So like open quarterfinals, semifinals games for like multiple years to get like a really good feel for the flavor. Because I think last year and then this year, this might just be my opinion, but I think there have been some things that he's thrown in there that like you look at and you're like, okay, this isn't necessarily because it's the best event or the best test.
Yeah.
This is you trying to distinguish yourself from Dave. And what Dave was, you know, for the games. And
Potentially
so
speaking.
again, I'm just like throwing it out there. It's just a thought. It's not I don't think Boz has done a bad job by any means.
No.
It definitely has a different flavor, but I think after last year's games, everyone lost their fucking minds and like, oh my God, what do we do now? The sport's entirely different. It's like, it's not different. It's not different.
It's
like
just harder, and you suck at
you
gymnastics.
you did. I was gonna say it's not even.
Fuck off,
It
fly.
wasn't even harder. It was just like you've been doing handstand push-ups. You're just gonna flip around and face the other way now. Like it.
Yeah, but
okay.
it's harder because you're bad at handstand push-ups.
Well, okay, fair. Like it's harder in that regard, but it's like so there were a lot of athletes, coaches, whatever, like in the space that kind of like lost their minds, like, oh my God, we have to go back to the drawing board and like we have to redo everything because everything's all different. I'm like, just do your handstand push-ups the other way. Yeah. Like it's not that big. Like it doesn't ruin your day. It doesn't throw a wrench. Like, sure, does it suck that you got exposed at like the fact that your spine looks like a banana and you rely on leverage versus pressing strength to do your handstand push-ups? Yes, it sucks that got exposed at the games. So sorry. However, it's like, it's not like you have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to like just put a little bit more attention on those things.
But that's the thing. For these coaches, for these athletes, now we're coming back.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, we're coming back around to that full thing.
Coaches don't know how to do gymnastics.
Coaches don't know how to do gymnastics. So like, Had you had an upbringing or a knowledge of gymnastics that was more robust, you would look at that and be like, okay, and you would do exactly what you said, and you would just spin around and face the wall, because you wouldn't be deficient in spending time in a virtuous handstand position wall facing. Right.
But I also don't think that any coach, regardless of their background or upbringing, would have programmed for their athlete to prepare for wall facing handstand push-ups prior to last year at the game, because it's not required of you. Like, it hasn't been asked of you yet. Because I know that look on your face. I know what you're gonna say. I know exactly where you're going.
What am I gonna say?
You're gonna say that, like, oh well, you should anyways because virtuous gymnastics and wrap your thumb and. But I'm saying, like, so when in regards to like training an athlete for the sport of CrossFit, if you're like, all right, we're preparing for this next year, you knew that Dave, when Dave was in the driver's seat, you knew that Dave was going to throw like a couple things here and there. But there's a reason, like, nobody was doing pegboards before Dave was like, have a pegboard. And then he took said pegboard and firmly inserted it into the anus of 40 men and 40 women at the CrossFit Games.
I get you. However, no. So let me explain.
Stop with your however, no.
Okay. Yeah. So let me explain why you're wrong. So the pegboard, like the pig flip, like the snail, like all of those things are odd object movements, right? You shouldn't have a pig before. Like, that's the point of the pig, is they handed you a fridge and you're like, oh fuck, you got to figure that out, right?
Yeah, they handed you a wall facing handstand push-up. You go, fuck, I got to figure that out.
Nope. That's like saying, how do I want to do this? That's
a snatch. I should figure out how to overhead squat.
Yes. Yeah. Like, so here's the thing. If I only taught an athlete, if I grabbed an athlete and is like, you want to be competitive at the CrossFit Games, cool. Every time you do a handstand push-up, you're going to do them, quote unquote, deficit. They only ever, with hands on parallettes, do full range of motion handstand push-ups.
Yep.
If I only train them like that, then headstand push-ups would be a goddamn joke, right?
Yeah.
Coaches are lazy when programming for gymnastics because they're bad at it.
Okay. I don't have an argument to disagree with you because you're making a very good point. And that's the reason why the entire time I was training with James and, like, you know, when I was being competitive in CrossFit, we only ever trained strict handstand push-ups, because if you can do a fuck ton of strict, kipping ain't going to be hard.
It's a joke.
Like, as long as you understand the timing of how to kip and, you know, all that fun stuff.
There's a coordination thing.
It's like, but yes, to your point, if you're doing conditioning workouts, you get to the point where, like, you know, I can do Diane unbroken strict, and it's not a problem. It's like, then doing it kipping isn't hard.
So then coming back to this example of the wall facing handstand push-up, right? It's weird only because we as a community have stopped short of trying to actually progress our gymnastics. Like, we have done the bare, I was thinking about this in the shower this morning. We have done the bare fucking minimum for competition standards in gymnastics for like 20 goddamn years. And what we end up with is, not only do we have athletes who are wildly deficient in some basic concepts, like potentially the pullover, as we'll see, right? Maybe.
Oh yeah, we'll find out. That event's tonight, right? We'll find out.
It's midday, yeah.
I'm gonna.
It's this afternoon. This afternoon. But then, like, the pirouette, like, everyone's like, "Ooh, 360 pirouette!" Like, go read 100 Words of Fitness. 20 fucking years ago, Greg Glassman's talking about the basics of
pirouettes
gymnastics.
Are in there.
The pirouettes are in there, right?
Pirouettes are listed in the press to handstand, pirouette.
Exactly.
Like, all these different. Yeah.
So for 20 years, we have been checking the box and being like, "Oh, does this satisfy it? Cool. I'm only going to train the bare fucking minimum to accomplish the competition standard." And as a byproduct of that, we've got an entire community, millions of CrossFitters, who think that's what you do. And so when you have someone come in and they are like, you know, parallel handstand push-ups, no, they're not deficit handstand push-ups. They're just full range of motion.
It's deficit based on the definition given to handstand push-ups by competition
based on
previously.
headstand push-ups.
I understand, but like because that was because the headstand push-up was a handstand push-up. When they made it deeper, they were like, "Oh, it's just a deficit."
No, I understand. I understand. And to a certain extent,
I get what you're saying.
All right.
But also, hopefully you understand what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying that it's right that all these CrossFit coaches or like competitor coaches have just been like, well, we're just going to train you for like what the sport has demanded thus far. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that that's what was happening. Was they were like, why would I tell you to do a handstand push-up facing the wall when every single time we've done handstand push-ups, it's been like facing away from the wall and then shittily on the rings once.
Yes. All right, so we've got
where you saw Josh Bridges fold in half backwards.
Oh God, Jesus! I don't want to.
Last question. I have one for you. This can be real quick because I just realized one of the events that it wasn't on the list was Helen.
Oh.
And they announced that Helen was going to be an event in some way, shape, or form. Oh. They said some variation of Helen will be done for all the divisions, and that wasn't on the list that we just looked through.
That's
so that they haven't announced the variation of Helen that we're going to see. So. I don't know what day that's going to be on. However, I would love to. I know that the adaptive divisions, I think, just did regular Helen.
Yeah. Age groups did Helen.
400. Okay, so just regular Helen.
I believe.
Okay, so the team one should be interesting, but I would love to hear if we're good. Like, let's make a little prediction. Let's just drop a little. Here's some of that. Because if we're going to release this today, and we'll see if we're right.
Yeah.
What version, variation, whatever. Of Helen do you think we're going to see for the individuals? And I'll just give it that because we could go nuts on like different team variations and whatnot. But what variation of Helen do you think we're going to see?
I'll tell you what I would love to see. I would love to see.
Hit me.
3 rounds for time.
Okay.
400 meter run.
Mm-hmm.
Double kettlebell hang snatch, which is effectively the same as a kettlebell swing. And 21 reps.
Load.
And then 12 strict chest to bar pull-ups.
What weight? Ooh, strict chest to bar. Okay.
Fuck yeah, strict chest to bar. And keep the load the same. So 53-35, right? But now it's in each hand.
So pair of 53s.
Pair of 53s, pair of 35s. Okay.
I like that because I think the kettlebell snatch is easier to judge than the kettlebell swing. I think the kettlebell swing, whatever standards they come up with, you're going to see like a variation of like how
you see a
that
lot of the hanging lantern shit,
right? In terms of like the finished position.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I think it would be cool if they did so. I think, I would really. There's a part of me that really wants the individuals to just do normal Helen. And let's just watch them light themselves on fire. Like let's see who can go sub 6 minutes. Like let's see what they can do. I just threw up a little bit in my mouth saying that. But
yes,
it's like you get top Helen times or what, like 6.5 minutes or so, like somewhere in that range.
Yeah, 99th.
But then again, you say this is for points we're going to win. Like like there's part of me that's like let these human weapons take a kettlebell that like is light for them and just watch them watch them light themselves on fire for these points. Like I think it would be amazing. What do I think is going to happen? I think this would be my prediction. I think what we're going to see is I think they're just going to take Helen and beef it up. I think what we're going to see is three rounds, 400 meter run, the 21 swings with a 70, and then 12 bar muscle ups.
Interesting. Okay.
I think that's what we're going to see.
Yeah.
Which then I'll be angry because there'll be like some redundancy with the pullover and the bar muscle up because it's basically the same thing, just backwards.
More or less. Okay. So lightning round. I have exactly 3 minutes before I have to go. So.
Okay.
You have no more than 15 seconds.
Okay.
Give me your podium picks for the individuals, men and women. I've already got my answer, so my answer is going to be short.
Okay. So podium picks for the men. I think Pat Bellner.
Okay.
I think Oh God, now I'm gonna have to go through the whole thing. I could see like I'm gonna go Chandler Smith. I could see him doing well.
Okay.
If he executes events really well, he's a
Yep.
fit dude. We do have one of the Panchicks there, right? Like
We have
not
a couple
Scott.
of them.
Scott's doing Masters.
Yeah.
Or did both brothers make it?
Oh, Scott's doing Masters. Okay, then maybe just Saxon.
Okay, then Saxon. I'll go
Okay.
those three for my men.
Okay.
For ladies, I
Yep.
think Annie Thor's daughter. I think Gabby Megala
Mm-hmm.
is gonna come in and break some shit, and then I
Yep.
think you'd be stupid to write off Laura Horvath. I think she,
Okay.
we haven't seen any handstand push-ups in the programming, so I think she'll be okay.
Yep. All right.
So
So
those be my 3 men, 3 women.
my 3 picks for the ladies, I said Gabby Magala on top, and then
Okay.
take your pick between Danielle Brandon and Laura Horvath for second and third place.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, and
I like
this
it.
is
There's
based
no
on
crossover double under, so Danielle Brandon might be okay.
well, and this is based on open semifinal performance, and Gabby Magala just like fucking destroyed.
She wrecked it. Yeah.
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 And for the dudes, my pick is Kalen Souza out of Brazil, Jeff Adler, and Pat Vellner. So if you looked at the semifinal scores, the Brazilians destroyed.
They
everybody.
go off.
It's not even close, Kev. Like by a gap of 60 points, like all 3 of the finishers are head and shoulders above literally everyone else in the world. So
here's my argument. Is that because they're that good, or is that because the depth of competition isn't up to par?
if it's the same test, then like
right. But if it's the same test, but they're like the same events, but they're getting more points, that just means that those top 3 guys are just finishing 1, 2, and 3 more often. Whereas like we have Pat Vellner at the West Regional has a deeper field of competition. He might finish like 5th, 6th or something in events, and then
I would have to go back and review
less
that.
points.
I would have to go back and review that. I don't know. That's a good question.
That would be an interesting thing. Is it because they're just that much better, or is it because they've like the depth of competition just allowed whoever finished first just finish first a lot?
We will have to research that and find out, but we've run out of time for it today. So hopefully when this episode comes out, everybody watches it and enjoys how right or wrong we are about a number of things. Kevin, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Let us know in the comments, DM us, whatever, if you think AMRAPs in competition are stupid or not.
Yeah, you're wrong, but please let us know.
They are. Just let us know.
Okay. Everybody, we'll talk to you later. See you.